All right, the first obscure item that you can resell on eBay for about $50 are basketballs. Now, I know that game basketballs or basketballs signed by famous people, any basketball that has a famous origin are always going to be worth money. However, that's not what I'm talking about in this video. This is the Wilson Evolution basketball. It is an indoor basketball. And during the summer, these things sell for between $25 and $35. However, now that we are going into indoor seasons of basketball, because basketball for both high school and college usually start in the winter, starting around November and December. So as we get closer to those months, these things are going to be going for between $40 and $50 plus shipping on eBay. Now, I am not a basketball person. I have no idea why the Wilson Evolution basketball goes for a lot of money compared to other basketballs of a similar brand. So maybe someone in the comments can let us all know. But whenever you are going out to the thrift store and you walk by a whole row of basketballs, make sure to look out for the Wilson Evolution because those go for good money. Also, if you know any other basketball types that go for a lot of money, that's not including, like I said, game used or signed by somebody, please drop it in the comments so that we can all learn together. The second item on our list are going to be massagers. Now, there are all different types of massagers, from ones that look like this, that have these two beads on top. There are ones that you put your legs on and they massage your legs. There are ones that are a paddle and you just move it around your body. All in all, there are massagers that look a lot like these and they can go for really good money. This one is a Thumper and I have this one listed for about $50 plus shipping. Thumper is definitely a brand you're going to want to be looking out for. However, there are a couple of other brands that also do well. One of them is Reach Easy. If you find a Reach Easy, there is a pretty good chance that it's going to go for about $25 to $30 plus shipping. Also, another brand to look out for are Homedics. However, Homedics is a little bit more hit or miss. I find with Homedics that there's about a 50-50 that the item is going to be worth selling because a lot of them have a really low sell-through rate. That's one thing about massagers is they tend to go for a good amount of money, but depending on the brand and the model, they might have a very low sell-through rate. So if you're somebody who doesn't mind having a bigger store and doesn't mind dealing with 50-60% sell-through rate items, then massagers might be something you want to be interested in and something that you want to be looking for. The majority of the massagers you're going to find are going to be at thrift stores, as it's not likely you'll find them on Facebook. And of course, you can't really find them at retail stores because you're going to be buying these new for the most part. Also, they're not really that popular at yard sales because most people don't think that these are worth anything. However, they can be worth a pretty penny. The most expensive massager I've ever sold was around $80. So it just goes to show how much people are wanting these things. Like I said earlier, this one is a Thumper, and Thumper is going to be the brand you want to look out for. Every single Thumper that I have ever found has been worth selling. But of course, you want to look up each individual model number. Next up on the list are radon detectors. Now, I'm going to be completely honest with you. I have no idea what these are. All I know is that they detect radon and that they go for a lot of money. These are similar to smoke detectors that I talked about in a previous video. These go like hotcakes. They usually sell the same week or even the same day I list them. And you're always going to be wanting to find these at Home Depot, because Home Depot, Lowe's, or any other kind of home improvement store, they're always running clearance deals on these. So you can usually get these for between $20 and $30, and they'll sell for between $60 and $80 plus shipping. I got this particular one at a pawn shop for $15. Their original price was $30, but you know, no one's really buying these at pawn shops. That's another thing. When you go to pawn shops, always look for things that no one wants to buy, but still has resale value. But that will be a different video down the line. If you want to see that, drop it in the comments. So I got this for $15 and I'm going to be selling it for around $60 plus shipping. You can definitely find cheaper ones at the thrift store that are in these packages. They usually don't charge you more than $5 or $6 for these at the thrift store, and they can sell for between $40 and $50 plus shipping. You're not really going to be finding these anywhere else. Yard sales, like I said, people don't really think that these have value, so they never really put them out. And Facebook, you're usually dealing with other resellers, so I would just stay away from that kind of sourcing when it comes to things like these. But next time you are in a Home Depot or next time you are in a Lowe's, go to their clearance section and you might find one of these radon detectors. Next up on the list are OEM car floor mats. I find these all the time, usually on a weekly basis. I usually get them at the thrift store for no more than $5 a piece. Or if there is a set, they're gonna sell the set for no more than $10, and people will pay a lot of money for them depending on the make and the model of the car. Now, obviously, it would be easy for me to say that if you find Lamborghini, Ferrari, or Porsche floor mats, they're going to go for a lot of money, because of course they are. However, that's not really realistic. As you can imagine, it's not common to find Lamborghini car mats at a thrift store. But it does not mean that you are not going to be able to find good floor mats at the thrift store. That particular one I just showed you was for a Dodge Ram truck. And I'm selling the pair, because I have a pair, for about $50 plus shipping. And I only paid $7 for the pair. Thrift stores don't really know that these things are worth money. They think that people who sell their cars are just giving them away because they don't want them anymore, which is true. Usually these get donated when somebody sells their car and forgets that they had floor mats with it. So they are in a garage, and when they're cleaning out, they decide to just donate these floor mats instead of realizing that they're actually worth a lot of money. And people are constantly buying new floor mats because they get dirty, they get scratched, they get torn up. And so people are always going to be demanding for these floor mats. And you need to make sure that they are OEM. Usually OEM will have some kind of label on them. The one you saw said Ram. So I knew by looking at that, as well as looking at the part number, that they were OEM. You will see that when you look up a specific make and model of a car to look for the floor mats, that there are going to be a lot of brand new listings that are like Chinese knockoffs, I would say. Even though they're not pretending to be real, but still people will buy them, and it's just cheap quality. You'll see most of the time that the brand new ones that are not OEM sell less than the actual OEM, even though they're used, because people are always willing to pay a premium for a premium product. So I'm usually able to get a lot of money for these, even for lesser cars. Like I'm able to sell Toyota Corolla, Camry, Nissan Sentra floor mats all the time for between that $30 and $50 range, because people are always willing to pay them. And bonus tip, if you're able to find cargo mats like the ones that are in the trunk of the car, especially if they are not the carpet one, if they're more of the hard plastic one, those go for a lot of money. I just sold a cargo mat the other day for $70. I got it for free at a yard sale because the guy didn't want it anymore. Next item up on the list are blender bases, and this goes for pretty much any of the kitchen small appliances. It doesn't just have to be blenders, food processors, and other kind of small kitchen appliances. The motors will tend to sell a little bit slower and a little bit less money, but it doesn't mean that you can't get great money for it. Now, I bought this at a thrift store for only $8 because according to the thrift store, this thing doesn't work because there's no cup and lid to test it, but all I had to do was just plug it in and the gears were moving, and I knew that it was gonna work. Now, this is a Vitamix brand. Most of you know what Vitamix is, but for those who don't, Vitamix is basically the highest personal brand blender that you can buy on the market. Usually their blenders retail for between $300 and $600. If you're a rich person, that's just something that you're gonna have in your kitchen. But these are one of the older models that were released in the last 10 years, and people think that they're not worth anything. They upgrade and then they donate and get a tax write-off for their blender. And that's where us resellers come in. We're able to make a lot of money off this. Like I said, I paid $8 for this blender base, and I'm going to be selling it for around $100 plus shipping, and there is a lot of sales data to back that up. For some reason, Vitamix is kind of known for their motors giving out, which is really ironic because they're supposed to be the highest brand. So there's always going to be a demand for Vitamix blender motors, and you're always going to be able to sell them for around $100. And if you can find even more expensive ones, that's when you can get up to like the $200 and $300 range. And even if this was broken, so let's pretend this is broken, you can still sell them for $50 because most of the time, all it needs is just a new gear, which you can buy for $10 on Amazon. People will take these apart, replace those gears, and then sell it for $100 and have a $55 buy cost. Most of the time when I find Vitamix blenders or any kind of motor base is usually at the thrift store when someone donates all the parts, but they break, or the thrift store just decides for some stupid reason to sell them separately. You can also find them on Facebook Marketplace, but you're gonna be paying up a little bit more, so you're definitely gonna wanna get up early and find all those listings and try to snipe them from people. You can also probably find them at yard sales. However, people are going to be charging a little bit more. They might charge $30 or $50 for a Vitamix. However, if it's a good Vitamix, you definitely want to pay $50 because if you can get a whole unit with the base, the cup, and the lid, that's going to sell for almost $200. Our last item on the list are these speakers. Well, I don't mean these speakers, but speakers in general. This one is by Sonos. A lot of you know Sonos is a very popular, very high-end brand. And even broken, these things can sell for upwards of $50. I just sold this morning for $60 plus shipping because I have no idea how to pair this with my phone. I tried for about an hour. I'm just not smart enough to do that, and I'm willing to admit that. But even if I was able to pair it, it was only gonna go for $80 plus shipping. So For just $20 less, I didn't have to deal with losing my insanity trying to pair this thing. But if you're somehow able to do that, you are able to sell these for a lot more money, and there are definitely other models that go for a lot more. But you don't just have to buy Sonos. Amazon makes a bunch of speakers. I just sold a big ball Echo speaker, put a picture of it. I sold it for about $30 plus shipping. I got that at a yard sale for $3, and I got this at a thrift store for $8 because most thrift stores don't know what Sonos is. And even if they do, they can't charge you $100 or else it's never gonna sell. So they'll usually drop the price down to about $40, which is enough to make some margin on it. If you're one of those people that don't care about profit margin, you just wanna keep things moving, because this thing sold in about 2 hours. When you're on Facebook, definitely look for Sonos bundles. People buy multiple speakers at once. Some speakers come in sets, and people will charge you a couple $100, which is definitely a big buy-in. However, you can sell each individual part for about $70 to $80 a piece. And so a $200 investment quickly becomes $400 to $500 worth of individual pieces that you part out.